In the era of universal class changes, dungeons from other worlds opened randomly, and countless humans changed class into combat professions, explored dungeons, and fought alien beasts, constantly evolving toward becoming new humans. And at the academy, on the day of the class change ceremony, a guy is taking a heavy punch to the face, and, as he falls hard to the ground, the blonde wants to know how Trash, expelled from the Yang family, thinks he can change anything by changing class. Then he walks over to the guy and, stepping on his chest, emphasizes that he should remain at rock bottom as Trash for the rest of his life. The guy who took the punch gets angry and tells Yang-kun not to get too full of himself, because the humiliation the Yang family caused him will one day be repaid 1,000 times over. The blonde laughs and asks how that could possibly be. Then, while continuing to step on the fallen guy, he tells him to keep dreaming until his next life, until a priestess appears asking the two of them to stop fighting. She makes it clear that this is the class change temple and that they cannot cause trouble in a sacred place. Yang-kun turns around and tells the guy he was beating to consider himself lucky because the priestess saved him. She extends her hand to help him up and asks if he is okay. He wipes his face and says, yes, and that he has even gotten used to it. Later, people begin walking toward the class change site, and soon a person in charge announces that the class change ceremony is about to begin and that everyone should form a line. It does not take long for the first person to step up to the magic sphere to undergo his change, and the guy obtains the D-rank combat class, Soldier. Meanwhile, as he waits for his turn, the MC thinks that he was expelled from the family earlier because no talent for combat was detected, being left to fend for himself, and he also knows that in this apocalyptic world, combat classes are the most sought after, and that the rarer the profession, the greater the potential. At that moment, it is Yang-kun's turn to learn his awakened class, and, after focusing a bit of his power into the sphere, it is announced that he awakened the rare B-rank class, Hero Apprentice. People in line comment that Yang-kun was very lucky, but that this was already expected from the young master of the prestigious Yang family, and that normal people are D-rank, and that even obtaining a C rank is a blessing from the ancestors. The blonde passes by the MC and comments that Trash like him at best deserves to be a D-rank farmer. As he walks toward the magic sphere, the MC thinks that he needs to take revenge on the Yang family, but that to do so, he must awaken a combat class. And upon arriving before the magic sphere, he wastes no time and immediately channels some of his power into it. However, just as the class was about to be announced, the magic sphere begins to release a strange energy. The MC is surprised by what is happening. One of the people in line laughs and comments that apparently the MC did not even obtain a class, and that because of that, it makes him the trash of all trash. Until a cold wave begins to circulate through the place, and people start to question whether they are feeling the air getting colder and colder. At that moment, the MC is enveloped by a strange dark energy that soon surrounds his entire body, and an intense glow occurs, leaving everyone around extremely shocked. It is announced that the MC has awakened a special SSS rank class, Dark Summoner, which is capable of even changing the color of his hair and his clothes. Now, Yang Chen possesses the Dark Summoner class and can summon the Goddess of Death at a cost of 5,000 energy points and 1,000 mana. His current level is level 1. He has 172 points in energy, 65 in mana, 19 in speed, 25 in physical defense, 16 in dexterity, and 45 in magical defense. Everyone in the room can see the Goddess of Death above the MC. Then the magic sphere completely shatters, and the elder asks what the hell is going on. Yang-kun becomes nervous, unable to believe that Yang Chen obtained an SSS rank class. The elder congratulates the MC for awakening a hidden class. However, he points out that according to his estimation, the summoning cost for the class he awakened is enormous. Yang Chen agrees and emphasizes that using summoning abilities requires a huge consumption of mana and stamina. The old man then comments that the MC's real combat ability may be equivalent only to C rank or even D rank, since this type of summoner class requires massive financial support and is not something a failed young master expelled from a wealthy family can afford. Young Kun comments that the MC really is trash, since he awakened an irrelevant high-rank class. Having said that, he starts laughing and proposes a fight to let everyone see how incredible an SSS rank truly is. The priestess becomes nervous and says that this has gone too far, since Yang Kun is clearly intimidating people with his power. But the old elder tells her not to interfere, as this is a matter of the Yang family. Yang Chen calls his cousin out and agrees to the fight. The blonde grabs his sword and says that at least his cousin is not a coward. Having said that, he draws his sword and charges forward, shouting that blades have no eyes, and that he will send him straight to the other world. However, a skeleton arm appears from the ground, grabbing Yang Kun's leg, and he soon becomes frightened when he sees several skeletons surrounding and restraining him, until he falls to the ground and screams, saying that there is a ghost right in front of him. The MC laughs, calls his cousin an idiot, and comments that he has no idea of the powerful talent he awakened. Having said that, he activates his sacrifice exemption ability, which reduces summoning consumption by 99%. Now, the summoning cost of the Goddess of Death is reduced to 50 stamina and 10 mana. Thus, the MC summons the Goddess of Death. Faced with the summoning, Yang Kun screams, saying that this is impossible. Then he asks how his trash cousin could summon something like that, since he knows that he is clearly a talentless failure. At that moment, the goddess activates her mortal gaze, and Yang Kun immediately feels the effect of the ability, begins to scream in pain, and collapses completely to the ground. The people around are shocked and comment that young Master Yang was eliminated instantly. The elder makes it clear to the MC that they agreed to a fair duel, so he asks whether he can now eliminate the MC. Yang Chen calls the old man presumptuous and asks how he dares to eliminate someone inside the temple, since that only shows he has no respect for the faith. The elder does not like being confronted directly and activates his divine art, Blazing Solar Explosion. Then he comments that if Yang Kun is eliminated there, he will not be able to answer to the Yang family, and that, because of this, he will execute the MC immediately. The Goddess of Death begins to create something in front of her master, and soon forms a huge shield that easily blocks the elder's attack. She looks at her master and asks if she may eliminate the old man. Yang Chen laughs and replies that it is too early to fight with the Class Change Temple, but that she may simply teach the old man a lesson. Thus, she summons a skeleton warrior who charges at the old man and strikes him. The MC comments to the elder that his claim of being responsible for eliminating Yang Kun is not entirely correct. Then, he looks at his cousin and makes it clear that he has not taken his last breath yet, since the passive ability of the warrior class, Cheat Death, was activated, and upon being on the verge of elimination for the first time, 1 life point remains, with a cooldown of 1 week. Yang Kun, in turn, soon screams, demanding to know how his cousin dared to try to eliminate him, but makes one thing very clear: if his cousin dares to touch him again, all the elite elders of the Yang family will not rest until he is eliminated. Yang Chen merely stares at his cousin, then walks over to him and forcefully steps on his head, slamming him hard into the ground and telling his cousin to send the elite elders right away, because he will be waiting. At that moment, the system informs the MC that he eliminated Yang Kun, gained 1,200 experience points, and leveled up to level 2. Later, while Yang Kun's body is being mourned, his father comments that the useless person who was expelled from the family actually dared to eliminate his son. Saying this, he slams the edge of the coffin with all his strength and shouts that this is an unforgivable crime. However, he keeps in mind that he has already paid an enormous price to invite a high priest from the temple to use resurrection. Therefore, without further delay, Young-kun's father asks the high priest to begin, who in turn comments that it is a very trivial matter, because if the person was eliminated less than 4 hours ago, he can revive him. With that said, he activates his resurrection technique, but soon becomes very surprised since an image of the MC appeared above Young-kun's body, saying that he knew the old man would try to bring Young-kun back. Then he laughs and says that he left a small secret inside the body. And, while a strange energy begins to emerge from inside the coffin, the MC explains that it is a body explosion ability and that they should simply think of it as a gift from him to them. Young-kun's father cannot believe that this is happening, and soon, a huge explosion occurs at the location. After the dust settles, covered in ashes and extremely furious, Young-kun's father orders that his command be passed on, which is to place a bounty of 10 million gold on the head of the damned Yang Chen. Meanwhile, in the trial cave, a place where one of the first dungeons appeared, the monsters inside are low level, making the place more suitable for beginners to farm. However, one guy is having difficulty facing one of the creatures, and not only him, but several others as well, since they are facing an elite minotaur, and they keep trying to defeat the enormous creature. From afar, the MC observes what is happening and comments that apparently the monsters in a beginner dungeon are quite weak. One of the guys who are fighting the minotaur hears the MC and becomes nervous, asking if he is not going to help, since at the moment he is being quite useless. His partner agrees and points out that the MC is just waiting to deliver the final blow. A few hours later, the elite minotaur is finally defeated, and as soon as the creature collapses to the ground, everyone celebrates, shouting that they managed to clear the dungeon. However, something begins to happen at the place where they are, and soon the cave starts to tremble, and a huge magic circle forms beneath the guys who defeated the minotaur. This even catches the MC's attention, who wonders what the hell is happening. From the middle of the magic circle, a sinister creature emerges. The warriors begin shouting, wanting to know what is happening and what kind of creature this is that they are seeing, until one of them shouts saying that the creature that appeared is the Chimera, a legendary hidden boss, but he has only heard that there is only a 1 in 10,000 chance for the creature to appear. Yang Chen smiles and comments that finally something interesting has appeared. Therefore, he walks toward the Chimera. The creature, in turn, launches its infernal flame attack at one of the warriors, and he is quickly completely burned. After turning into ashes, his partners run away in fear, leaving the MC behind. The Chimera releases a loud roar and charges forward. Yang Chen takes a deep breath, activates his ability to summon the goddess of death, and as soon as she is summoned, the goddess observes the creature in front of her. Upon releasing her power, she makes it clear to the feline that she will now be his opponent. With that said, she fires a powerful attack that rushes straight toward the Chimera and hits it directly. The MC walks toward the fallen creature when he sees that it has already been defeated, until he notices something, and a beam of black light falls upon him, and the MC rises to level 13, in addition to obtaining a legendary grade Chimera Fang and 3 units of rare grade Chimera skin. Next, the MC manages to unlock the abilities to summon a dark elemental orb and undead enhancement amplification. Meanwhile, the guys who had run away and left the MC behind are hiding, wondering if the MC was not supposed to be a failure and how he is so strong, until the portal opens, and one of the guys quietly calls his friends and comments that they need to get out of there immediately. Thus, everyone begins to walk very quietly so they do not attract attention. But the MC soon calls out to them and makes it clear that they should not be in such a hurry to leave the dungeon. The goddess of death calls her master and asks if the guys ahead were the people who were rude to him and whether they should be eliminated. Yang Chen replies that there is no need, since they did nothing wrong. As soon as the MC approaches the warriors a little more, They kneel on the ground and say they regret having been so blind. With that said, they thank the MC for saving everyone's lives. Chen laughs but emphasizes that even so, if they want to continue living, they will have to show some sincerity. Therefore, after taking everyone's equipment, 67,000 in gold, 14 healing potions, and 9 mana potions, he thanks them for their support. The warriors comment that the MC took everything from them, but even so, just knowing that they are alive already makes it worth it. After that, the MC is thinking about the Dark Orb ability, which spends 600 stamina and 100 mana to summon a powerful orb of dark energy. Then he concludes that these newly unlocked abilities also consume an enormous amount of energy and mana, but he knows that with his cost reduction passive, this is no longer a problem. The next day, in the commercial district, Yang Chen goes to a weapon shop. The seller immediately welcomes him and says that his equipment shop has great prices. The MC begins to observe what is inside. He picks up a sword to look at it, and while walking from side to side observing the items, the seller thinks that the boy looks completely broke, so he thinks that he cannot afford anything and is still pretending to look at the weapons. Until the MC picks up the epic grade Hades scepter and asks how much it costs. The seller crosses his arms and says that the scepter the boy is holding is the treasure of his shop, and that because of that, it costs 2 million gold. Yang Chen takes the Chimera Fang from his inventory and asks how much he could get for the legendary material he is showing. The seller becomes very surprised by what he is seeing and comments that what the boy is showing is a legendary level material, and that at an auction it would be worth at least 2.5 million gold. But he soon becomes suspicious and asks how the MC obtained something like that. However, he realizes something. Then, giving an awkward laugh, he apologizes and says that the item the boy has is more than enough. With that said, he goes to the back of the shop and asks the MC to wait a moment while he prepares his change. The seller comments to a guy that the boy inside his shop looks a lot like the target that the Yang family placed a bounty on. With that said, he tells the guy that he will keep the MC there so he can contact the Yang family. A few minutes later, the seller returns, and Yang Chen is transformed into his shadow summoner form and wants to know how much longer he will have to wait. Feeling a little awkward, the seller says that it will be ready soon and that he only needs to wait a little longer. The MC finds something strange and soon asks why the seller seems so nervous. At that moment, a sword is thrown and lands stuck right in front of Yang Chen's feet. Some guards appear at the entrance of the shop, and the blonde guy calls out to the MC and informs him that they are from the elite of the Class Change Temple, the 12th Order of Knights. With that said, he makes it clear that the Yang family hired them to eliminate him. Yang Chen wastes no time and summons the Goddess of Death. Then he comments that the fact that the Class Change Temple is working hand in hand with the Yang family shows that they are cut from the same cloth. Therefore, the Goddess of Death summons the skeleton soldiers and comments that mediocre knights who dare disrespect her master deserve to be eliminated. The skeletons rush toward the blonde guy, who simply watches the attack approaching attentively, but he soon activates his supreme sacred strike ability and completely eliminates the skeleton soldiers. As soon as the pieces of the skeletons fall to the ground, the blonde guy laughs and makes it clear that they are just flashy trash, since they specialize in dealing with undead and demons, until he becomes surprised by something he is seeing in front of him. Then, he points at the Goddess of Death and asks the MC if, when he eliminated Yang Kun, he relied on the summoned shadow-type creature he is seeing, since he knows that she uses an instant elimination ability that activates by locking eyes with the target. However, he explains that all of them, A-rank Grey Knights, are equipped with high-quality equipment or better. Then, while holding the Sacred Heart equipment, he says that with the necklace equipped, they are not only immune to instant elimination abilities, but can also eliminate level 60 bosses without problems. With that said, he charges at the MC, shouting that now his greatest trump card is useless, and that he should be a good boy and accept his fate. Yang Chen shouts that the ones who will be eliminated are them. Therefore, the goddess of death channels her power. But while she prepares to unleash her attack, the knight calls the MC an idiot and asks if he had not said that they are immune to the deadly gaze ability of the summon. However, the goddess of death conjures a giant eye that releases several beams across the entire area. The knight's sacred heart necklace is completely shattered when struck by the goddess of death's ability, and he soon receives the fatal gaze, is violently thrown backward, and falls flat on his back on the ground. The blonde guy becomes desperate and comments that he is sure he had immunity to instant elimination. Yang Chen walks toward the knight and makes it clear that his equipment was merely a rare grade item, so he asks if he really thinks it could resist the gaze of a divinity. The other knights become frightened when they see that their leader was easily defeated and that apparently the accessories are not having any effect. The MC begins walking toward them and, while channeling his dark elemental orb ability, makes it clear that he does not even need the goddess to deal with them, since he can handle all of them alone. With that said, he launches the ability, until suddenly, at high speed, 3 guys enter the shop and activate the Holy Light Shield. One of these guys asks his friends to hold the line, since he knows the MC's abilities burn a ton of mana and that his remaining mana is probably almost empty at the moment. The MC's attack collides with the Holy Light Shield, and the guys comment that they only need to endure and then counterattack to finish the MC as soon as his mana runs out. Yang Chen laughs when he hears that his mana is running out. Therefore, he creates more dark elemental orbs and makes it clear that he is only getting started. With that said, he launches several attacks at once. The Holy Light Shield receives several attacks, and when the guy sees that the shield is being broken, he becomes very surprised and comments that they will not be able to hold on. And as soon as the Holy Light Shield is completely broken, the guy shouts for his friends to run because they will not be able to defeat the MC. However, it is too late and a huge explosion occurs. After the dust settles, Yang Chen has completely eliminated them all. With that, the system informs the MC that he eliminated 6 C-rank priests and 1 B-rank assault swordsman and has risen to level 22, and that he has also acquired the abilities Oath of the God of the Underworld, Soul Eye, and Undead Summoning. Meanwhile, the shop seller is extremely frightened, thinking that the MC is a monster, since he saw him eliminate an entire order of elite knights in an instant. Then he decides to run away from there as fast as possible, but the MC grabs him and asks where he thinks he is going, because they still need to settle some unfinished business. The seller falls to his knees on the ground, picks up the Hades staff, and says he is very sorry for what he did, but that he will give the underworld god equipment for free. Yang Chen takes the epic grade staff and his attributes rise, gaining 125 more points in the attack attribute, 447 more in mana, 120 in defense, 50% more damage in the dark attribute, and all stats of summoned shadow creatures increased by 20%. The MC points the staff at the seller and asks him to give a good reason to let him live. He begins trembling even more in fear, but replies that he has actually studied the staff before, since it is part of the set of the God of the Underworld. Then he explains that the set is scattered across several different labyrinths, and that he has heard that whoever assembles the complete set of the God of the Underworld will obtain the true authority of the God of the Underworld and gain dominion over life and death. After explaining this, the seller bows to the MC and says that he has already told everything he knows, so he asks if he can be allowed to leave, because he will not even charge him for the materials, since he will return everything. At that moment, the goddess of death activates her Oath of the River of the Underworld ability, and a dark wave begins to pass beneath the MC and the seller, who shouts, asking for his life to be spared. Then, several skeletal arms emerge from the water and begin grabbing the seller. Yang Chen tells the seller that he does not need to panic, because he will not eliminate him, but he makes it clear that he only wants him to swear by the river of the underworld that he will not reveal the details of his fight with those knights. The seller quickly swears that he will not tell anyone the details of the MC's fight and emphasizes that if anyone asks, he will only say that he was hiding at the time and did not see anything. Thus, the goddess of death comments that the oath of the river of the underworld has been established, but she makes it very clear to the seller that those who break the oath will fall into the depths of the river of the underworld forever. Young Chen comments that now that everything has been resolved, their paths will separate there. The seller, seeing that the MC has left, becomes nervous and thinks that he really suffered a huge loss this time, and that regarding the oath of the river of the underworld, he believes the MC was certainly just trying to scare him. After that, and later at the Yang family mansion, Yang Wanchun, the second young master of the Yang family, slams his fist on the table and asks if the man in front of him is saying that the 12th Order of Knights was exterminated. Then he asks how this happened and how the MC managed to do it, since the Order of Knights was the elite of the Class Change Temple. The Yang family subordinate says that all of them were easily eliminated in the weapon shop, but that they brought the witness to explain what happened. The shop seller greets the young master, and he asks the seller to tell every detail about how Yang Chen defeated the Order of Knights, because if he provides useful information, he will be greatly rewarded. The seller becomes very happy upon hearing this, and says that he will tell everything. Thus, he comments that at the time he saw Yang Chen summon. However, he barely finishes speaking when the wave of the oath of the river of the underworld appears beneath the seller. Young Wanchun becomes very shocked by what is happening, and the seller begins to scream. And as soon as he is grabbed by the skeletons of the oath, he begins to panic and scream, asking to be saved. But soon, he is dragged into the depths of the river of the underworld. From where the MC is, he comments that apparently the seller broke the oath, and that because of that, his soul was dragged into the depths. But he knows that the seller brought it upon himself, and that there is no one else to blame. Back at the Yang family mansion, a kind of underworld river portal opens, and several creatures come out of it. Then, they begin moving toward Yang Wanchun. He looks back and sees a bow and arrows. Without thinking twice, the young master grabs them, and as he looks back in fear, he wonders if all the monsters he is seeing were created by Yang Chen. As the creatures get closer, Yang Wanchun prepares to shoot. However, he begins to tremble when he sees that there are many creatures, until someone uses the high-level divine art of sacred judgment light on the creatures. A blonde girl appears and wipes them all out. She takes a deep breath and says, "That was pathetic, since the creatures were nothing more than undead." Then she tells the young master that it is only a temporary portal opened to the underworld river, and that, because of that, he does not need to make such a fuss, since the portal will close on its own soon. A few minutes later, just as the blonde girl had said, the underworld river portal closes. Yang Wanchun sighs in relief and comments that it really gave him quite a scare. Having said that, he comments that, as expected of the saint, she really is very wise, but wants to know if she has already thought about marrying him. The blonde girl does not like hearing that and slaps the young master's hand and makes it clear that the Class Change Temple may be cooperating with the Yang family, but that he should not get too full of himself. Yang Wanchun comments that the bastard Yang Chen caused chaos in the Class Change Temple before and tarnished the family's reputation, so once he eliminates him, the temple elders will definitely support the idea of him marrying her. Later, in the Death Desert Dungeon, a desert inhabited by a large number of magical beasts, being an extremely dangerous dungeon that few adventurers would dare enter, Anubis, the level 65 King of Death and dungeon boss, wants to know who dares to disturb his sleep. The goddess of death summons her summons, which soon stand before the creatures of the dungeon's King of Death. The MC activates his ability to amplify the strengthening of the undead, whose underworld king said effect strengthens summoned creatures of the dark attribute. Then he comments that, as expected of the boss who guards the underworld king equipment, Anubis's power is truly formidable, but he emphasizes that the quality of his soldiers is far superior. Thus, the summons begin to fight against Anubis's army. It does not take long for the King of Death's army to be completely subdued, and upon seeing the MC's summons charging forward, Anubis comments that he did not imagine his army of Death Kings would truly be defeated. However, he makes it clear to the MC not to be arrogant. Having said that, while summoning his scale, he emphasizes that now he will fight seriously. Then, as he prepares the scale of God, he calls the MC an insolent mortal and says that since he dared to disturb his sleep, he must accept the judgment of God. Young Chen feels a strong pain in his chest and falls to his knees on the ground. Anubis walks over to him and says that his heart has fallen into his hands, then explains that if the scale tilts, it means that his sins are heavy. At that moment, the scale tilts to the side of the heart. Anubis shouts for the MC to suffer the consequences, and the MC begins to scream, saying that his heart hurts. However, the King of Death is surprised by something, since he sees the MC laughing and even saying that it was a joke, which leaves him very confused, trying to understand what the hell just happened. Yang Chen says that he is the ruler of darkness and death, and that he is immune to all instant kill attacks. So he wants to know how such an attack from the dungeon boss could have any effect on him, and that even if his opponent were a god, there would be no exception. Anubis shouts that this is impossible, because clearly the MC is only a mere human. However, upon sensing and seeing the black aura around him, he questions how he can possess such enormous power. Yang Chen calls for the goddess of death and asks her to deliver the final blow to the dungeon boss. She replies that it is fine and charges forward. And as soon as she releases her skill, she calls Anubis a second-rate god and tells him to simply turn to ashes. He is struck directly by the skill and tries to resist the attack, but cannot, and is eliminated. Upon dropping an item, the MC gains 64,000 experience points for eliminating Anubis, and evolves to level 35, in addition to obtaining the epic grade Hades necklace. Yang Chen, upon picking up the item dropped by the dungeon boss, has his mana attribute increased by 1,250 points, plus 556 in intelligence, and his maximum HP increased by 886. Now, he is immune to abnormal states such as restriction, bleeding, fatigue, and many others, in addition to all attributes of summoned dark element creatures increasing by 20%, and for each other, piece of the Hades set equipped an extra 10% is added. The MC, while leaving and commenting that with the necklace the second piece of the Hades set is now in his hands, does not notice something appearing behind his back. It is Anubis, who asks him to wait and comments that his strength exceeds his imagination. Having said that, he says that he has decided to recognize the MC's power, which leaves him confused, and he asks the creature to be clearer. Anubis kneels and explains that if the MC does not consider him unworthy, he wishes to serve him. With this, Yang Chen obtains the ability to summon Anubis, the god of death, which leaves the goddess of death quite surprised upon learning this. Yang Chen looks at the necklace he just obtained and comments that he did not expect to have such a good unexpected harvest. And as he stores the item, he emphasizes that this will give him another card up his sleeve. A few minutes later, somewhere, a portal is opened. The MC passes through it, saying that there are still 3 pieces of the Hades set left to obtain, since he has in mind that if he manages to get them all, it should be enough to confront the Yang family and the Class Change Temple, until he looks to the side upon hearing someone using the wind explosive arrows skill, and a huge explosion happens. Yang Wanchun comments that he thinks the arrows hit Yang Chen directly, and that because of that, he believes he definitely did not expect it to be an ambush. The blonde girl tells him not to celebrate too early, since they have not confirmed the body yet. But as soon as the smoke lowers a little, The young master of the Yang family is surprised to see the MC still standing after being hit by the explosive arrows. Yang Chen comments, upon seeing that it was Yang Wanchun's doing, that he continues attacking from the shadows. Having said that, he summons the goddess of death and asks if the Yang family is really in such a hurry to eliminate him. While the blonde girl prepares something, Yang Wanchun realizes that Yang Chen has already summoned his legendary divine level summon. At that moment, the blonde girl consumes a celestial stone and thinks that they have also prepared a corresponding trump card. A magic pentagram is conjured, and the blonde girl summons the archangel Cherubim. Then she explains that, as a saint, she only possesses 3 celestial stones, and that since she is using one of them, she believes the MC can already feel honored. In addition, Cherubim is a high-class archangel with combat power that rivals that of gods, surpassing that of a level 70 professional. The MC comments to the goddess of death that apparently the guy the blonde girl summoned cannot simply be defeated by the instant kill gaze, so he wants to know if she will be able to deal with it. While preparing her power, she replies that she thinks it will be a little troublesome, but as she creates a dark spear, she emphasizes that she still believes the archangel is not a match. Having said that, she charges forward saying that she will finish him in less than 3 minutes. At that moment, Yang Wanchun points the bow in the direction of the MC and thinks that he probably does not have a second divine summon. Then, he calls for Patricia and asks her to help him defeat Yang Chen. The blonde girl wastes no time and appears from the other side charging forward. Yang Chen prepares his power and asks since when Yang Wanchun has been under the illusion that he only has one divine level summon. Thus, he calls for Anubis and orders him to reveal himself. The god of death is summoned, and before him, Yang Wanchun is left paralyzed. Desperate, he wants to know how it is possible for another to exist, since he has never heard of such a thing before. However, he decides to fire his wind explosive arrow and shouts for the god of death to go to hell, because he does not believe that all of his domains can be so strong. The arrow hits Anubis's barrier and is completely destroyed. Yang Wanchun continues firing several times, but all attempts are in vain. The arrows can barely pass through the god of death's barrier, who in turn calls for his master and says that after being summoned by him, his power is even stronger than before, and that, as expected, he is the true sovereign of death. Yang Chen asks Anubis to stop the flattery. Then he orders the god of death to get rid of Yang Wanchun. Anubis kneels and says that his master's request is an order. Thus, he summons the divine scale and asks the sinner who angered his master to accept the judgment. Yang Wanchun immediately feels a strong pain in his heart. His heart on the scale tilts, and Anubis says that he practiced a great deal of bullying using his power, and that because of that, his sins are heavy. Having said that, he emphasizes that a villain with a black heart like his can only have one end. Then he delivers his judgment, and Yang Wanchun's heart explodes, and he feels the pain at the same moment. Patricia watches this happen carefully, completely powerless to do anything. Yang Wanchun falls to the ground, and as his life fades away, he comments that he cannot believe he will end up like this. The MC walks toward the blonde girl and comments that now that Yang Wanchun has been eliminated, he wants to know why she shows no reaction at all. Patricia replies that he was just a weakling, and if he was eliminated, then so be it. However, while equipping her celestial staff, she emphasizes that the battle in the sky should already have been decided, and that the false god the MC summoned cannot be a match for the Archangel Cherubim. This is the great saint of level 59 and rank S Patricia, until she looks to the side upon seeing a huge explosion happening. The goddess of death climbs on top of the Archangel, points the black spear at him, and asks if that is all he has to offer, because she thinks he is a bit weaker than she imagined. While the blonde girl is completely shocked by this twist, the MC asks what she had said earlier. Patricia is completely stunned and questions whether the Archangel Cherubim truly lost the battle, since she knows that he is an archangel of the second hierarchy. The MC asks if she still wants to be his enemy now, but emphasizes that he will give her a chance to choose. The blonde girl becomes worried, questioning what kind of monster the MC is. Then her body begins to tremble, and she concludes that it is impossible to defeat him, but that she will pretend to surrender first and later find a way to escape. Thus, she replies that she is willing to surrender. The goddess of death comments to her master that the blonde girl says one thing but means another, so she asks why keep her alive. Yang Chen asks her not to be hasty. Having said that, he activates his skill, and while summoning the undead, he explains that it is not that he does not trust her, but that he still needs her to make an oath. Then he asks her to swear to the underworld river, and while she is surrounded, the MC once again asks her to swear loyalty to him and become his loyal slave. Patricia asks him not to go too far, because she is the saint of the class change temple, but she becomes worried, because she knows that if she swears by the underworld river, there will be no turning back. Yang Chen becomes serious, and soon asks if she is dissatisfied, because sending her to the bottom of the underworld river is also not a problem. Patricia drops her staff, falls to her knees on the ground, and begs the MC not to eliminate her. Thus, she swears that as the saint of the class change temple, she swears by the underworld river. Then she emphasizes that she will become his servant and swear eternal loyalty. At that moment, Yang Wanchun's soul appears calling Yang Chen and saying that the blonde girl is his fiancée. However, he becomes angry with her because she should be avenging him. The MC comments that he kept his soul only so that he could witness this scene with his own eyes, which leaves him even more perplexed. But soon, his soul is burned, and the MC emphasizes that now the second young master of the Yang family is completely out of the game. Having said that, he looks at the kneeling blonde girl and asks how he should deal with her. Patricia becomes a little embarrassed when thinking about the things he might do and questions whether this will be her end. But the MC comments that he is joking and asks that since she swore by the underworld river, he wants to know why she seems a little flushed. The blonde girl becomes embarrassed and replies that she does not know. Yang Chen comments that he will get to the point and asks why her class change temple is so close to the Yang family. She replies that it is because his older brother, the eldest young master of the Yang family, Yang Xuan, is about to advance to the third class change of the Holy Emperor Paladin, and that if the class change is successful, he will become a central figure of the class change temple, with a status comparable to that of a cardinal. Yang Chen finds this interesting but wants to know when Yang Xuan plans to change class. She becomes surprised by such a question from him. Later, at the class change temple in the West Branch Hall, a barrier is imposed around the entire place. The elder is commenting that it is a joyful day for the temple since the young genius of the Yang family will change class to Holy Emperor Paladin. This is Yang Xuan, the eldest young master of the Yang family, a level 60 Sacred Light Paladin of Class AA. The people around comment that the class Yang Xuan will change to is a legendary class, since it is almost invincible among those of the same level, and that if the change is successful, the structure of the world will change. He, in turn, enjoys hearing these comments, until the president of the Seven Stars Chamber of Commerce, Bai Lian, comments that the young man is conducting such a class change so ostentatiously and wants to know if he is not afraid that someone might interfere. Because as far as she knows, the Yang family has many enemies, and recently an internally wanted criminal has reappeared. Yang Xuan laughs and tells Bai Lian that she worries too much, because there in the West Branch Hall, every brick is reinforced with high-level divine arts. Thus, he makes it clear that no one would dare come looking for their own elimination, until a huge explosion happens in the protective barrier outside the temple. The entire place begins to tremble. People start to panic, wanting to know what the hell is happening, and that somehow the place has also begun to grow colder. Bai Lian looks around and demands an explanation, because she is also feeling a chilling cold sensation. At that moment, a dark aura appears in the center of the hall, and the elder is surprised to see such an aura and comments that this is impossible. The MC appears from within the dark aura, telling Yang Xuan that today is a good day for his class change, and that as his brother, he came personally to congratulate him. The elder and Yang Xuan cannot believe that Yang Chen had the audacity to appear there, and as soon as the old man notices that Patricia is with him, he becomes furious, wanting to know what the MC did to the temple's saint. Yang Xuan is also filled with fury, and while releasing his terrifying power, makes it clear to the MC that he will pay for everything. Yang Chen grabs Patricia's chin and says that she is his now, then asks if she agrees. Embarrassed, Patricia replies that she does, which leaves everyone quite surprised. Bai Lian asks if the MC is not the traitor of the Yang family, who has been causing so much trouble lately. Some people around wonder if he truly dares to treat the temple's saint in such a way, since, apparently, he is slapping the face of the class change temple by doing this. At that moment, several guards arrive from inside, and their leader orders them to attack together to eliminate Yang Chen and emphasizes that they should not fear the undead, because they are nothing. However, as soon as he finishes saying that, they are already attacked by one of the summons. Yang Xuan becomes nervous, prepares to draw his sword, and asks how Yang Chen dares to invade his territory. However, the temple elder stops him and emphasizes that his class change is more important, and that, because of that, he will hold the MC off by himself. Yang Chen places his foot on top of one of the defeated guards, asks for everyone's attention, and says that his target is only Yang Xuan and the class change temple. Having said that, he emphasizes that the rest of them should just stay back and watch, because he will not harm any innocent person. The old man, whose class is a level 56 high priest with rank A, takes his staff and makes it clear to everyone that he is not a brainless villain, because he believes that since the MC managed to capture the saint, his strength is certainly superior to his own. Therefore, while releasing his power, he emphasizes that all he needs to do is bet his old life to stop him. Having said that, he launches his technique, the Great Seal, Divine Art of the Eighth Order. The MC watches the old man's skill, but soon he is sealed by it. Seeing this, people are surprised and comment that they did not imagine the high priest would use such a technique on that boy, so they think he will definitely be eliminated without regrets, since they heard that the Great Seal was once used to imprison a divine-level boss, leaving it completely immobilized. The old man becomes a little tired after casting his skill and explains that what he just used is a divine-level seal linked to his own life force, and that, when cast, it is amplified by hundreds of 8th Order divine arts from the entire class change temple. Having said that, he emphasizes that breaking the seal would be as difficult as destroying a continent. However, a huge explosion happens where Yang Chen is. As soon as the dust settles, he emerges completely unharmed from the divine seal. As for the old man, since the seal was connected to his own vital energy, he falls to his knees on the ground asking how the MC managed to break his seal. Yang Chen walks toward the old man, asking him to say what he had said moments ago. Then he apologizes, saying he did not hear it properly. The high priest cannot answer anything because he is exhausted from casting the Great Seal. At that moment, a huge amount of energy appears behind the MC. Yang Xuan has successfully changed class to SS level Holy Paladin Emperor, and the MC simply watches him. Yang Xuan extends his arm, spreads his wings, and displays his new power. The people around are surprised, commenting that Yang Xuan really managed to change class, but they wonder if he is truly favored by fate as the rumors say. Bai Lian, also surprised, explains that high-level class changes are very complex, since the success rate of a rushed class change is less than 1%. Yang Xuan grabs his sword, immediately unsheathes it, and heads toward the MC. Yang Chen claps, smiles, congratulates him, and says that he did not imagine Yang Xuan would actually manage to change class despite everything, until he finds it strange when he sees him pass by without saying anything. Yang Xuan goes to the temple's old man and apologizes for having been too slow. As soon as he helps the high priest stand up, he comments that it does not matter because his old life is still intact. Having said that, he looks at the MC and calls Yang Xuan to finish him off first. Yang Chen, in turn, wastes no time and immediately orders his summons to attack because he wants to see who will finish off whom. However, all the summons are completely eliminated in a matter of seconds by the S-Class combat skill domain of the King's Majesty. Yang Xuan makes it clear to the MC that mere undead are simply not qualified to fight against him. Yang Chen becomes intrigued by this, and the people comment that it is as expected of the Holy Paladin Emperor, since the uncomfortable feeling from before has disappeared because the place is being illuminated by his light. Yang Xuan points his sword at the MC and tells him to summon the divine level summon. Having said that, he emphasizes that only then can it be considered a fair fight. Yang Chen laughs and emphasizes that it was he who asked for it and that he should not regret it later. Therefore, he summons the goddess of death who soon appears. Yang Xuan, while activating his divine protection that grants immunity to all status effects, comments that fighting against him no trick will have any meaning and that the MC will only be able to rely on strength. However, as soon as he finishes saying that, he falls to his knees on the ground feeling a strange pain in his body. Yang Chen comments that Yang Xuan acted tough for so long, but in the end, he does not even have immunity to divine level instant elimination, so he asks if he thinks he is the MC. Patricia shouts, warning the MC that Yang Xuan is a Holy Paladin Emperor and that he will not lose so easily. Yang Chen comments that he knows this, and it does not take long for the Advanced Hero's Blessing to activate, since when he is almost near the end, Yang Xuan forcibly retains 1 HP and then restores it completely, but it can only be activated 3 times in 24 hours. Therefore, he begins to stand up and soon becomes ready again. The people around comment that this was already expected from a Holy Paladin Emperor, since he is practically immortal, and with a class like that, he is almost unbeatable in a duel. Yang Xuan fills with fury and makes it clear to the MC that he will not underestimate him again. Having said that, he activates his SS level Sacred Sword Haveus skill, which consumes 5,000 MP to cause massive sacred attribute damage. Then he launches it toward the MC and his summon. A huge explosion happens at the place. Yang Xuan breathes heavily after launching such a skill. The people shout, celebrating his victory. Bai Lian, however, questions whether Yang Chen really lost that easily. Yang Xuan calls for Patricia and asks her to surrender to him. Then he comments that he knows she was forced to do all of this. Having said that, he tells her to kneel obediently and he will forgive her for the mistake. Patricia does not like this very much and questions whether she should really surrender because she thinks something is very strange about this. Just as she was about to say that she surrenders, a dark energy begins to circulate around Yang Xuan, who immediately becomes frightened, asking what is happening. The MC appears behind him and says that it seems the Holy Paladin is trying to steal someone who is on his side. Therefore, Yang Chen asks if Yang Xuan really thought that his attack could have defeated him. Yang Xuan shouts, saying he refuses to believe this and that he will try once again, but he is soon enveloped by the power of the goddess of death, who tells him to just shut up. Then she calls him an annoying clown and hits him directly with her skill. Yang Xuan falls stiffly to the ground. The MC walks toward him and comments that he thinks Yang Xuan can probably still revive several times, which is indeed quite annoying. Then he activates his skill and, while pulling the soul from his body, comments that he only needs to do this to end this once and for all. Yang Xuan, before losing his consciousness, wants to know if Yang Cheng really intends to extract his soul, because if he does that, the Temple of Class Change will fight him until the end. The MC replies that he is already tired of hearing his words. Then he continues with his soul extraction. However, he is surprised by something that just happened, since a barrier formed around Yang Xuan's body, protecting him from having his soul removed. The level unknown Seraph Michael appears, saying that the MC should not try to take the life of a righteous man. Then he says that Yang Xuan's soul already belongs to the heavens. Yang Cheng becomes intrigued upon seeing another angel. Patricia tells the MC that Seraph Michael is the highest-ranking angel, and, speaking logically, explains that it would be necessary for the Pope to gather dozens of high priests to establish a magic circle so that the Seraph could descend. The high priest becomes happy to see that such a being has appeared, but the angel soon tells the old man to shut up. But he comments that he did not imagine that Michael would descend, so he asks the Seraph to bring divine punishment upon the MC. Michael calls Yang Cheng a mortal and emphasizes that his complaints against the Yang family and the church do not matter, but tells him to let Yang Xuan leave, and then he will be able to leave the past behind, and that he may even allow him to join the temple and become God's chosen one. Yang Cheng gives a slight smile and then starts acting as if he were very magnanimous and says that he is a dark summoner. Michael makes it clear that this does not matter because God can help him get rid of his current class. Having said that, he explains that afterward, he can eat the sacred seed he is giving and change his class to Sacred Summoner. The people around are surprised, commenting that they did not imagine that an angel from the Temple of Class Change would appear and be willing to give the MC another chance. Bai Lian, hearing the conversation of the people around, becomes nervous and thinks that everyone is a bunch of idiots. Yang Chen picks up the sacred seed, which after use greatly increases the user's aptitude for light-type classes, and that users of dark-type classes will be eliminated due to energy conflict when using it. The MC, upon sensing that the seed is real, laughs and tells the Seraph that apparently he is very sincere. However, he emphasizes that he still thinks it is not enough, so he asks if the angel agrees to become his summoned beast. From that moment onward, Michael becomes filled with fury and, while releasing his power, comments that the MC is clearly courting death, since he truly dared to make a fool of an angel. Then he launches his flames toward the MC, saying that he will reduce him to ashes immediately. However, the goddess of death blocks the attack with her dark power. Michael tells the MC not to think that he can face him just by summoning a second-rate god. He becomes serious and emphasizes that if one is not enough, then he will summon another. Thus, he orders Anubis to appear immediately,